It's 1815, and a man is risking his life to cross the English Channel in a storm. In his possession, information that will shape the future of Europe. This man works for the Rothschilds, a family about to pull off one of the greatest financial coups in history. Within 24 hours, they'll make millions from Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo, cementing their status as the most powerful banking dynasty the world has ever seen. But this is just the beginning. How did this family go from living in a ghetto to financing wars, bankrolling revolutions, and even shaping national borders? What's the truth behind their mind-boggling wealth that some estimate to be in the trillions? And in the shadows of their legacy, do they still pull the strings of global finance? Frankfurt, 1760. In the crowded, impoverished Jewish quarter, a young Mayer Amschel Rothschild navigates the alleyways. Born into a family of modest means, Mayer's early years were far from the opulence that would later define the Rothschild name. Mayer Amschel Rothschild's background was humble, to say the least. Born in a ghetto in Frankfurt, Germany, he faced significant restrictions due to his Jewish heritage. They were barred from farming, handicrafts, and even from dealing in more prestigious goods like weapons, silk, or fresh fruit. Unable to own land or farms, young Mayer was forced to seek alternative paths to success. Initially, Mayer started his career as a textile trader. However, he soon discovered more lucrative opportunities in trading gold coins and antiques. This transition would prove crucial, establishing him as a shrewd trader with an eye for value. As an apprentice at a local banking house, young Mayer discovered he had a gift, an almost preternatural ability to assess the value of rare coins and precious metals. This talent would become the foundation upon which he would build his empire. By 1769, at just 25 years old, Mayer had established his own modest trading operation. But he had grander ambitions. He understood that to truly succeed, he needed to gain the trust of those in power. Mayer's strategy was simple, yet brilliant. He offered his services not just as a trader, but as a financial advisor to the European aristocracy. His expertise in rare coins made him indispensable to collectors. But it was his relationship with one man that would catapult the Rothschild name into the annals of history. Prince William, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, one of the wealthiest men in Europe. Impressed by Mayer's financial acumen, William entrusted him with increasingly important transactions. Mayer's early business strategies were nothing short of ingenious. He pioneered a technique known as front-running. While serving as a court agent for Prince William, Mayer would leverage inside knowledge of the prince's upcoming purchases. When Prince William sought to buy gold coins, Mayer would first purchase the coins himself using borrowed money. Then he would sell them to the prince at a higher price, effectively profiting twice, once from his commission as a broker and again from the price markup. This strategy allowed Mayer to capitalize on the prince's demand before the transaction occurred, enabling him to accumulate wealth at an astonishing rate. By 1782, he had become the investment manager for Prince William, and his business had evolved into full-fledged banking operations. As Mayer's influence grew, so did his family. He and his wife, Gutler, would have 10 children, 5 sons and 5 daughters. But it was his sons who would become the key to Mayer's most audacious plan yet. The boy from the ghetto was now the richest man in Frankfurt. But for him, this was just the beginning. He had a vision of a family dynasty that would extend far beyond his own lifetime. Mayer Amschel Rothschild was about to make a decision that would change the face of European finance forever. He would send his 5 sons to the 5 most important financial centers of Europe, creating a network of Rothschild banks that would dominate the continent for generations to come. London, 1804. A young man steps off a ship, his eyes scanning the bustling port city. This is Nathan Rothschild, and he's about to transform not just his family's fortunes, but the very nature of European finance. But why London? What made this fog-shrouded city so crucial to the Rothschild plan? By the early 1800s, Great Britain had emerged as a global superpower. Its empire spanned continents, its navy ruled the seas, and its capital, London, was fast becoming the beating heart of global commerce. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, turning Britain into a manufacturing powerhouse. And at the center of it all was London, with its well-established financial infrastructure, including the Bank of England founded in 1694. For Nathan, this was fertile ground, But he wasn't content to simply participate in London's financial scene. Nathan Rothschild was determined to dominate it. So how does a newcomer rise to the top of one of the world's most cutthroat financial markets? Nathan's tactics were aggressive, even ruthless. He undercut competitors, moved vast sums of money with lightning speed, and cultivated a network of informants that kept him one step ahead of political and economic shifts. Nathan's business strategies in London were nothing short of revolutionary. He capitalized on the booming financial markets, becoming a key player in government bonds and commodities trading. His operations grew at an astonishing rate, and within a few years he reported sales of £800,000, an astronomical sum for the time. In 1812, Meyer Amschel Rothschild's health began to decline rapidly, and he soon realized that his death was imminent. To secure the future prosperity of the House of Rothschild, he emphasized to his sons the importance of maintaining family unity above all else. This commitment to unity became one of the key foundations of the Rothschild dynasty's enduring success. The Rothschild information network was nothing short of miraculous for its time. Using a combination of carrier pigeons, coded messages, and a web of trusted agents, the five brothers could communicate faster than any government or rival bank. This speed of communication gave the Rothschilds an almost supernatural ability to predict and profit from world events. It was a power that would soon be put to the ultimate test. As Nathan consolidated his power in London, storm clouds were gathering over Europe. Napoleon Bonaparte's armies were on the march, and the continent was about to be plunged into 2 decades of war and chaos. For most, war meant devastation. For the Rothschilds, it presented an unprecedented opportunity. As governments scrambled to finance their armies, Nathan and his brothers positioned themselves as the indispensable bankers of Europe. They moved gold across battle lines, financed armies on both sides, and turned the tides of war into rivers of profit. In Vienna, Salomon became the financier to the Austrian Empire. In Paris, James cultivated close ties with the French aristocracy. Karl established a foothold in Naples, while Amschel maintained the family's base of operations in Frankfurt. But it was Nathan's actions after the Battle of Waterloo that would cement the Rothschilds' reputation for financial wizardry and give birth to one of the most enduring legends in banking history. June 18th, 1815. The fate of Europe hung in the balance as Napoleon faced off against the Duke of Wellington in the fields of Waterloo. But miles away, in the heart of London, another battle was about to begin. One fought not with cannons and cavalry, but with information and gold. Nathan Rothschild had positioned himself perfectly for this moment. His network of informants stretched across the continent, poised to deliver news of the battle's outcome faster than any official channels. As the smoke cleared from the battlefield, a Rothschild agent was already racing towards the coast, carrying news of Wellington's victory. He crossed the channel in a storm that grounded all other ships, reaching London a full 24 hours before Wellington's own courier. Armed with this priceless information, Nathan faced a choice. He could announce the victory and be hailed as a hero, or he could use this knowledge to execute the most audacious financial maneuver of the 19th century. Nathan chose secrecy and cunning. He entered the stock exchange, his face a mask of despair. As whispers spread that Rothschild was selling, panic set in. The market plummeted, and then, at the moment of deepest despair, Nathan struck. He began buying every stock and bond in sight, acquiring vast swaths of the British economy at fire sale prices. When news of Wellington's victory finally reached London, the market soared. In a single day, Nathan Rothschild had multiplied the family fortune many times over and positioned himself as the most powerful banker in Europe. The Waterloo coup was just the beginning. In the years that followed, the Rothschilds would use their newfound wealth and influence to reshape the financial and political landscape of Europe. Europe was entering an age of prolonged conflicts, and the Rothschilds were perfectly positioned to profit. The United Kingdom's robust financial system was supporting multiple wars, and the Rothschilds played a crucial role in this war financing. They provided essential foreign exchange services, charging exorbitant fees, sometimes up to 8%, for currency exchange. This business of currency speculation became their most profitable venture. thanks to their unparalleled network of information and their ability to move faster than their competitors. In Paris, James Rothschild became the de facto banker to the French government, financing everything from war reparations to massive infrastructure projects like railroads and mines. Salomon in Vienna played a similar role for the Austrian Empire, his influence extending so far that he was often referred to as the Shadow Emperor. From the mines of Spain to the railroads of Austria, from the canals of England to the ports of Italy, Rothschild money flowed into the arteries of European commerce, fueling the Industrial Revolution and reshaping the continent's economy. But perhaps their greatest achievement was in stabilizing the global financial system itself. By the 1820s, the Rothschilds had become the bank of banks, the lender of last resort to governments and institutions across Europe. This role was put to the test during the Panic of 1825, when a stock market crash threatened to bring down the entire British banking system. As other banks faltered, the Bank of England turned to Nathan Rothschild. In a matter of hours, Nathan arranged for vast quantities of gold to be shipped from the continent, single-handedly averting a full-scale financial collapse. Actions like these cemented the Rothschilds' reputation as not just wealthy bankers, but as guardians of financial stability. They had become, in essence, a private central bank for all of Europe. However, the 19th century brought new hurdles: emerging competitors, shifting political landscapes, and the rising tide of anti-Semitism. The family that had risen from the Frankfurt ghetto to the pinnacle of European power was about to face its greatest tests yet. As the 19th century progressed, the Rothschild family found themselves confronting a rapidly changing financial landscape. Emerging technologies, markets, and new forms of wealth threatened to upend the established order. Yet for the Rothschilds, this era of transformation presented both unprecedented challenges and remarkable opportunities. While the Rothschilds had long dominated European finance, a formidable new contender was rising on the global stage: the House of Morgan. Led by the indomitable Junius Morgan, this American banking dynasty was determined to carve out its own place in the world of high finance. Junius Morgan understood that to play in the big leagues, he needed to venture into government financing, and in the 1800s, wars presented the greatest opportunities for ambitious bankers. The Franco-Prussian War of 1870 would prove to be Junius Morgan's moment to shine. In 1867, France had attempted to purchase Luxembourg from the Netherlands, but faced opposition from the Prussian Empire under the ruthless Otto von Bismarck. Sensing an opportunity, Napoleon III of France declared war on Prussia in July 1870. The Rothschilds, with their uncanny ability to predict the outcomes of conflicts, had little faith in France's ability to defeat the formidable Prussian forces. They opted to avoid lending money to the French government, a decision that would open the door for the House of Morgan. Junius Morgan, the American banker, saw this as a chance to make his mark. He quickly recognized that even if France lost the war, the nation's economic resilience would ensure its capability to repay any loans. Through his syndicate, Junius Morgan raised over £10 million for the French army. The war resulted in a decisive German victory, leading to significant territorial losses for France and the proclamation of the German Empire. Yet, when the conflict ended, the defeated French did not renege on the loans. Instead, they prepaid the bonds in 1873, netting Junius Morgan a staggering £1.5 million. This windfall vastly augmented the House of Morgan's capital, propelling the firm into the upper ranks of government financing. While the House of Morgan continued its ascent, the Rothschilds faced mounting challenges of their own. Following the death of James Rothschild in 1868, the younger generations of the family became increasingly fragmented, making it more difficult to maintain the cohesion that had defined their rise to power. To rebuild their prestige and recapture their past success, the Rothschilds looked beyond Europe, investing heavily overseas. But the Rothschilds' true challenge lay in the emergence of a new global power, the United States of America. From the 1850s to the 1870s, the US experienced a period of remarkable growth, propelled by the Industrial Revolution, westward expansion, and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. For years, the Rothschilds had underestimated America, deeming it a land of madmen. But as the House of Morgan and Wall Street emerged as the new global financial hub, the Rothschilds could no longer ignore the growing might of the United States. Their opportunity to make their mark in America would come in the wake of one of the country's most devastating economic crises, the Panic of 1893. Following decades of a booming railroad market, the industry suddenly collapsed, plunging the nation into a severe depression. President Grover Cleveland, determined to maintain the gold standard, found his administration's gold reserves dwindling rapidly. With the country on the brink of financial disaster, Cleveland turned to the one man who could provide the necessary assistance, J. Pierpont Morgan of the House of Morgan. But Morgan knew that to truly save the day, he would need the help of the Rothschilds. For the last 3 decades, the Rothschild family had been strategically investing in gold and silver mining operations, amassing a vast hoard of the precious metal. J.P. Morgan raised $65 million by issuing government bonds and used the funds to negotiate with the Rothschilds, purchasing 3.5 million ounces of gold for the Federal Reserve. This collaboration between the House of Morgan and the House of Rothschild would cement their positions as the titans of global finance and mark the beginning of a new era in which America would emerge as a true superpower. The late 19th century saw a rise in anti-Semitism across Europe, and the Rothschild name became a lightning rod for conspiracy theories and prejudice. In some countries, they faced legal restrictions on their activities. In others, they were the targets of populist anger and political scapegoating. The family that had once seemed invincible now faced existential threats. How would they navigate these dangerous waters, and could they maintain their position of power in a world increasingly hostile to their very existence? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in June 1914 set in motion a chain of events that would plunge Europe into chaos. For the first time in their history, the Rothschild network found itself divided by national borders and conflicting loyalties. Rothschilds in England, France, and Austria suddenly found themselves on opposite sides of a devastating conflict. In Vienna, Louis von Rothschild faced a particularly difficult situation. The Austrian branch of the family had long been closely tied to the Habsburg monarchy. Now, with Austria-Hungary at war with Britain and France, Louis found himself caught between his family ties and his national allegiance. In Paris, the situation was equally complex. Baron Edouard de Rothschild, head of the French branch, was quick to support the war effort. The Rothschild Bank in Paris became a crucial source of funding for the French government, underwriting war bonds and providing loans to finance the military campaign. Meanwhile, in London, the British Rothschilds played a key role in financing the Allied war effort. Nathaniel, First Lord Rothschild, used his connections in the United States to help secure vital loans, circumventing America's initial neutrality in the conflict. The Rothschilds' industrial holdings also became crucial to the war effort. Their mines and refineries worked around the clock to produce materials needed for the conflict. In some cases, this made Rothschild properties targets for enemy action. The war's impact on the European economy was devastating, and even the Rothschilds were not immune. The conflict disrupted trade, froze assets, and caused rapid inflation in many countries. The family's fortune, while still vast, was significantly diminished. As the war came to an end in 1918, the Rothschilds found themselves in a radically altered Europe. The old order, which had underpinned their success for a century, was gone. In the aftermath of World War I, the family faced a new threat: nationalism. In countries like Austria and France, Rothschild assets were expropriated. The Vienna branch of the family bank, once the financial powerhouse of the Habsburg Empire, was liquidated. The Russian Revolution of 1917 had also dealt a severe blow to the family's interests. The Rothschilds had significant investments in Russian oil fields, all of which were lost when the Bolsheviks nationalized the country's industries. The interwar years brought new challenges. The hyperinflation in Germany in the early 1920s wiped out much of the value of the family's assets there. However, it also presented opportunities for those Rothschilds who were able to leverage their international connections to profit from currency speculation. Yet these financial setbacks were overshadowed by the rise of fascism in Europe, especially under the Nazi regime in Germany. The Rothschilds, as prominent Jewish bankers, faced heightened scrutiny and hostility. In Germany, following the country's defeat in World War I and subsequent economic turmoil, a new kind of leader harnessed public anger and quickly rose to power, posing an existential threat to the Rothschild family, particularly their German branches. As the 1930s progressed, many members of the family were forced to flee. Louis von Rothschild, head of the Austrian branch, was arrested by the Nazis immediately after the Anschluss in 1938. He was held hostage for months, released only after the family paid a massive ransom. In 1940, As German forces rolled into Paris, the French Rothschilds were in grave peril. The older members, Edouard, Robert, and Maurice, fled through various routes, seeking refuge in the United States or England. Those who could not escape were subjected to the full brutality of the Nazi regime. World War II decimated Europe, obliterating much of what the Rothschilds had built over centuries. Their properties were bombed, and their financial records were lost amidst the chaos of war. With the surrender of Germany in 1945, the Rothschilds faced the daunting task of reclaiming stolen assets and rebuilding their shattered fortune. The process was long, complex, and often fruitless, with many treasures lost forever to the ravages of war and the systematic looting by the Nazis. As Europe began the long process of rebuilding, the Rothschilds faced their own reconstruction. Their fortune, while diminished, was not destroyed. More importantly, the family's network of international connections and their centuries of financial expertise remained intact. In the post-war years, the gold standard was gone. Colonial empires were crumbling, and a new global financial order was emerging with the Bretton Woods system. As new international institutions like the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund were established, the Rothschilds positioned themselves to play a role in the New World Order. Today, the Rothschild Group operates in over 40 countries, providing services in global financial advisory, wealth management, and merchant banking. While no longer the undisputed titans of finance they once were, the Rothschilds have carved out a niche as trusted advisors to corporations, governments, and the ultra-wealthy. Beyond finance, the family continues to be known for its investments in wine estates, luxury goods, and real estate. The Rothschild name also continues to be a lightning rod for conspiracy theories. In the age of the internet, unfounded rumors about the family controlling world events, manipulating markets, and secretly running governments have proliferated. Critics have also pointed to their involvement in industries like mining and oil as evidence of putting profit before environmental concerns. The family's response to climate change has been particularly scrutinized. While they've made public commitments to sustainability, their continued investments in fossil fuel industries have drawn criticism from environmental activists. In response to these controversies, the Rothschilds have doubled down on their philanthropic efforts. From funding medical research to supporting education in developing countries, they've sought to reshape their public image. Yet, in an era of growing wealth inequality, the very existence of a family with such accumulated wealth and influence has become a point of contention. Critics argue that the Rothschilds represent everything wrong with a system that allows for the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few.